So if you want to film in 360 for virtual reality, you're going to need a camera that does that. You're filming with a 360-degree camera, and that means that you're filming all around the space. You're not just focusing yourself in one frame, you are opening it up into 360, into a round screen. 360 video cameras differ a lot. Some are 2 lenses, fisheye lenses on either side, and that makes the whole 180 on each side, right? Other cameras have more lenses, like this one. It's a 360 3D. If you're filming for 360 VR, for virtual reality, and you want to immerse the person inside the world you're filming, it is better if you film in 360 3D in stereoscopic, because the other one gives you height and width, and this one also gives you depth, so you can see things set in space like you do in reality.
And did you know that VR is called the empathy machine? And that's because your camera becomes the viewer. Your viewer will become embodied by the perspective that the camera has. So its positioning is very important. When you plan a shot, when you start writing, you have to consider where your camera is going to be positioned. Some considerations you have to have first. One is the lenses you have in the camera. They are fisheye lenses and they're pretty static. You don't have optical zoom. Whatever movement is going to be the camera's movement. Now beware, because your viewer is going to have the perspective of the camera, if you move it too fast, it might be very dizzy. Another consideration you have to have is how close to the camera you can be. So it's not uncomfortable, and also that it's the sweet spot where the viewer is going to see things more clearly. If you stay too far back, you're going to lose details. If you are too close, you might step into the comfort zone of your viewer. Also, if you are too close, you're going to cause eye strain in your viewer. So the sweet spot is an arm's length, 50 centimeters or 2 to 3 feet. That's where you're going to have the most details, and also it's going to be comfortable for your viewer. At the beginning of the process, you have to decide if your viewer is going to be a character, flying the wall, third-person perspective, because depending on that decision, depends on where you're going to put your camera. You're going to have to consider how high you want your camera. You also need to think that every movement that your camera has needs to have meaning that responds to who your viewer is. If you change your perspective, right? If you move your camera from one side to the other, why are you doing that? Does that respond to your character moving? If you're doing a third-person God or flying the wall perspective, then you might have more freedom to move the camera. Always consider that. How high, how you're moving it, and the distance you have your other characters regarding the camera. How is that positioning affect your story and affects how the viewer is watching?
Let's talk a little bit about capturing sound for 360-degree environments. You're not going to be using a normal microphone. That's when we come to a microphone like this. This specific ambisonic microphone has 4 different little mics, 4 different channels that are all being captured at the same time. Ambisonic microphones will always have multiple ones to capture multiple sides of the environment, so that when you enter this experience, you're going to be feeling the entire space you're in, and it's going to help with that sense of immersion. And then we have ambisonic microphones like this. There are actually 8 channels, 8 microphones that are recording in 8 different channels. So it is capturing double the audio of this other microphone right here. So this is a high-end, really great microphone for not only capturing all sorts of different things around you, but giving yourself the opportunity to edit them. For example, if we're recording a symphony, I set this up in the 3rd row, so it feels like I'm right there engaging with the experience. I can then bring down the levels of some of those channels behind me and pump up the ones in front. And the more channels I have access to, the more customization options I also have access to, right? When you're recording audio using an ambisonic microphone, you need to be extra careful of your environment, much like when you're filming in 360 degrees as well. If someone hears a bird in the background and you didn't want that, they're probably going to look at it and you're going to pull away from the story you're trying to tell. But obviously the first and best step is always to make sure you have a clean noise environment when you start your shoot. As we continue to capture more and more advanced methods for capturing audio, we're going to find more and more advances in ambisonic sound. This type of microphone and this idea of using multiple channels to capture a full, lush world of sound is the future of immersive events.
Well, how expensive is this? Well, it doesn't have to be that much expensive. It depends on the level of proficiency you want, but you also have $50, $60, $100, $200, $300 cameras that you can get your hands on. For the microphones, you could do your own array of microphones to work with the software that does ambisonic. You also have ambisonic microphones that go from $200 and then they can scale up to more professional microphone.